Greetings gamers and welcome back to another episode of Megatropolis, a Transport Fever playthrough. So last time we added in this line down here, fuel line, and it's picking up fuel from M3 and M18. There's a ship route here and a ship route going all the way around the Lilac route there and coming back. This is all working okay, if not very slowly at the moment. I think it will build up over time. But each ship is carrying, and the first one I click on, it's carrying 60 of 60. Wow, okay, I wasn't expecting that. Let's try a different one. 36, yeah, that's more like it. But the fuel's on its way. It's going up there. There should be some fuel coming down here as well, if we're lucky. No, oh, he's going back, that's why. Anyone coming out? You're coming out, but you're not carrying anything. Yeah, I'm worried about the balancing between these, but we'll see how it goes. So anyway, fuel up and down this line. That's all well and good, except that when the boats get to here, they empty out into M3 and onto the line. And then they have to come all the way around here, back down here to pick up their next load. So they're empty on that second leg of the route. So what we're going to do today is we're going to try something similar to what we did over here, where we added the route coming through this oil over to here. Let me pop that on for a second so you can see it. There it is. So that was the oil over refining here, coming back down here, dropping off at these two cities so that we get a maximum efficiency line to help our money situation. And also this one is being used then to drop off for these two. So we're going to try something similar across the top of the map. So the boats come here, they empty out, and then they're going all the way back with nothing. So I thought if the boats come up here, pick up again the fuel from here, and then we'll probably drop off over here somewhere, and we'll have a second line coming down here. Not quite sure how we're going to get around this mountain range yet, but maybe round here on the inside of Doomstad, on the inside of New York City. We'll have to do a bit of demolishing of Smallville, but down the inside here through to Metropolis and then out either to M15 or M16. So that's our plan for today. So we're going to double down on what we've got. We've got this route going around. We're going to try and do the same thing coming up this side and across the top here. So let's get started. So the first thing I think we need to do is get this crude coming down to here. And remember what our aim really is with this is we're trying to get a part of the line going through here, which is all part of the master plan to have a mega loop going around the outside here, which will carry most of our freight backwards and forwards. So I'm going to go as quick as I can, and after last time, I have learnt that actually speed is not all that great. I made a right mess of these stations, which I've now tidied up. You can see here, I did have 6 exits for each station. So I've tidied that up, as you can see. That's a lot nicer now. 1 going in there and 2 on the other side. Done the same here. So just 3 exits or entrances to the station now, instead of that 6. And this one, which was very curvy, I had 3 on this side. I've got rid of those, put 1 there, and the last thing I did was I tidied up over here a bit as well. This was a very steep climb into this bridge here, so I've moved the station back a little bit further away from the town, but I had to have a route going into the town anyway for the fuel drop off, so it didn't really matter whether it was here or over here. So that's a little bit nicer climb, still a bit of a climb out of the station, but not as bad as it was. So that's all been done. So I tidied all that up off camera. So now let's get going. So we're going to put in a line from this crude here, coming around here. Not going to bring it right in too close because we want to be able to come past this town here, or within reach of it by truck at least, and then we'll truck down to here. and then put the port in there and bring the fuel around. So enough talking, let's get on with it. So the first thing was to lay in the freight station from the crude oil, which gave me an immediate issue, which I didn't notice to start with, which is that although it looks like the land is pretty flat here, it's really not at all. You can just see there in that shot that it's really not that flat. So I wanted to lay in a straight crossroad, which is easier said than done, as you know, with Transport Fever, and I had to lower the ground and make enough room to put a connection and then add the station to the end afterwards. So this was the first step in creating the top quad loop that we're trying to do. So we're trying to make a loop around the whole of the outside, but we're doing it step by step as we need each industry type. So just a normal station here with two platforms. I always put two platforms, even though half the time I only actually really need one. At some point in the future, I'm sure I'll be very glad to have two platforms. I also didn't make it an end station, just in case that there seemed no benefit to making it an end station. So I just used the normal station that has two ends. Trying to get across this river was slightly challenging in that I didn't have that much money, so I don't want to be spending it all on the bridge crossings. So straighter would have been better, but I couldn't really do it completely straight. Otherwise, I would have ended up in the side of the mountain, which was not the plan. But what I did want to do was to be within the distance of that town with a short truck run. And as I'm going through building the infrastructure in for Transport Fever Megatropolis, I saw an opportunity here, as I have done several times with different places, to bring in another industry type, even though I'm not really using it right now. But this was a good time to link up that plastics factory as well. I'm going right past it, so I thought I might as well put the station in. That would work for both. Then moving down to this end station here, again, I saw the opportunity for putting in two um, connections to industry through one station. So you'll see as I connect this up, I've connected in the fuel that I need. So the crude will be going down to the fuel, which is by the riverside. But also there you can see it there. It's a food processing plant, which means I can make bread, etc. And I can either send that out via the water or I can send it back to the station. We'll probably be doing a bit of both, I imagine. Just connecting up the double track here, I've made the line two-way straight away. Got enough money in the bank to be doing that. So just putting that in, and then of course adding the good old signals in to this. So I was quite pleased with the way this part of the line turned out, except for the challenge with the bridge going across the water. As I said, I would prefer to have made it straighter. I know there's a load of bridge mods out there, which we will be looking at in future episodes. I didn't want to start playing around with the bridge mods already, mainly because of the amount of money that I had in the bank. So I'm trying to keep things simple at the start, and as we progress, I will be bringing in more mods. So now trying to put the dock in where the fuel is going to be offloaded so that it can be loaded onto the artery line. It was a little bit of a challenge. I was looking at where I was going to put it, and the biggest consideration here that I had was how the train station connects to the dock, and with it being so close to the water's edge, how do any bridges work with that? And then, so I was looking, can I cut straight through the mountain range? It was a possibility. I could have afforded it, but I thought that was a bit of a cheap get out doing that. So I decided that I would go around the side of the mountain with the track, and therefore I just lowered a bit of the bank there, you can see, so I could get this fitting flush with the bank and the road. So there's the dock in place, and then I was just looking again at how would I need to set the bridge. I would obviously need to push it up a couple of notches, and I was looking at the cost of doing that and also how it would look. As I've said before, I'm not a big fan of these arched bridges, so I was using the terraforming mod, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a moment, to raise the riverbanks slightly so that I could have a flat bridge. So I placed that in, but then as you'll see, I just laid in this track trying to follow around the contours of the mountain I've got here. Considered for a bit about whether I should have that tunnel or not. In the end, I decided no tunnel. But you can see now where the bridge comes across the river, and that had a number of issues as well. So I thought I'd better get the station in first, and that's a really tight corner. You can see there I've got to come round the side of the town and then straight down to Metropolis, I think it is, after that. So I had to use a really curved station, and then I decided that actually it needed to be lifted up a bit as well, but they didn't need to be quite as curved as I've got it here. So I end up straightening out one of the ends of the station slightly. There you go, you can see me doing it there. But it is a bit of an extreme curve on the far end, and I think the maximum speed of that is about 37 miles an hour, which I can live with, but that's not great. So I've just slipped back now into normal time, and the main reason is because I just wanted to talk through what I'm doing here. So I was trying to figure out how long this bridge would need to be to keep the track speed at a reasonable speed, so I couldn't come straight across the river. So instead I'm going to go for the making it slightly longer. You'll see in a moment, but I was just looking at the different costs. If I'd gone somewhere like there, you can see how sharp the corner would have had to have been. So I push it up as far as I can that I can afford, and then I'm testing the height again, and then I decide that testing the height, it's going to have to be raised a bit. So I want to keep my bridges flat, so we're going to use the terraforming mod. Actually, I just looked it up. It's called the Flat Terrain, and it's a mod by a guy called Enzo JZ. I'm guessing that is how you would pronounce that. It's a great tool. It's mainly designed for flattening land, I think, and large areas of land, which it's perfectly built to do, but it's also great for if you want these flat bridges. As you can see, if you buff it right up against a coastline, you can then use the two heights, one on each side of the river, to connect up a bridge, and it will keep it completely flat, which in my opinion is a much nicer bridge than the arched ones. So we're just laying this in now. Obviously the problem with sticking a piece of ground out like that, in this case it's only 6 meters extra height that I've added. I know that's what I need to get across the river, but of course it does mean that there's a increase or an incline going into that extra piece of heightened landscape. So what I will do afterwards off camera is tidy up around it. I do a little bit here, you can see, but the track that's running up to that point, I will play with the landscaping a bit to make it nice and tidy again, so that it doesn't look like a piece of land has just been plonked there. You'll see after I do this that you can merge it in quite well. So I'm just getting a feel here for, again, where should I put the second piece of raised terrain, and the conclusion I came to was I wasn't quite sure, so I extended the length of it, as you can see here, and then I could use it to raise across the edge of the bank, and it doesn't really matter too much where I come across. But as you'll see, I did cut it quite close actually. I thought I'd be coming in further down the map than I did. That's where I thought I would go across there, but the edge was still, the curve would have been too steep if I had taken that right there. 6.3 million just to do that. and then you can still see that I still need to raise it up. It should only be one click that I need to raise it up, but that of course adds extra to the cost as well. But I did have to keep moving this further and further up the slope, as you'll see, to try and get a nice curve, and the cost just got excessive. It's 12 million there now, you can see. I believe it's going to go a little bit higher than that. I ended up right on the edge, as you can see there, of the raised terrain, but it all worked out okay in the end. I will accept that, I believe, sometime very soon. Or am I going to move it up? I think I move it up a little bit more. Nope, I took it. There we go. And then curving round into the train station there. Same problem with you've got a downslope coming off of that raised terrain there as well. Tried to put a bridge in. Bridge looked awful to get over that road. So in the end, I decided against that as well. And I would just figure out the roads later in the game. At some point in the game, I would like to have all roads being over track or under the track rather than through the track. The traffic gets very heavy later on in the game, so it will need sorting out at some point. So now we're going to go back to the fast time lapse, as you can see there. So I'm just tidying up the terrain. It looks okay, but I'll probably do a little bit of work on that off camera. But it merges in quite well, which is very nice. And even there with the downslope, it was not too bad. So next, our problem is to get around the side of Doomstad there. That one's okay. New York City is below it, which is a bit more of a challenge, as you'll see. But I wanted to keep it as close as I could, obviously, to the industry, but that wasn't going to happen. So I end up putting it in a little bit far away, but that's fine. We'll just connect it up with some trucks and a routing system there to help with that. So I've placed in the stations, and next, the next thing I would need to do is to lay the line between the stations. But I'm just putting in the one at the bottom there, and then I decided that I was going to hook it straight up here to the outer ring cities, which don't have names yet. But I had to do a little bit of work there. It was a passenger station, of course, so I will need to change that to a freight station or add a freight station next to the passenger station. So just hooking up the lines now, which was quite straightforward down the side here. No problems with that bridge at all. I just had to raise it a little bit, and it worked just fine. No terraforming required. And then I just wanted to bring it around the bottom there, as you can see, to then hook up across the river. Again, this was a very pricey bridge, and I am really running out of money at this point. But I managed to just about get it in with a little bit of patience and waiting for the money to build up a little bit there. So I did decide that, again, I would raise the terrain slightly on either side of the river so that we can put in our flat bridge instead of a curved bridge, if that's the right. I'm sure there's a more technical term for that than curved, but it's now it's a flat one. So that's in, and I connected it up, and all was well and good until I realized that, of course, as I just mentioned, the station at the far end to the unnamed city is in fact a passenger station, which will cause me problems. You'll see me in a moment just fix that, but just laying in the double track right now. This was an extreme curve, as I mentioned, on this station, but it's a station, so does it really matter that much? The trains are going to be pulling out or pulling in, so they will be much slower there. Run out of cash again at this point. Did borrow some. Luckily, I'd repaid my debts to society, and I could just borrow a bit more cash. But I do end up taking it pretty much up to the limit just to try and get this finished. I was very keen to get this line in before the end of this video. So we're almost done. Just a bit of double tracking to go there. Here we go. And this is the one I was mentioning where it's actually a passenger station. We'll fix that in a moment. But everything's in. You can see there's some other problems I started looking at as well. There was quite a few things I broke along the way, mainly digging up roads that were causing collisions. So I put those in and redid that part as well. And I was doing all that basically to allow the money to tick up a little bit. So you can see we were up to 3 million there, and then it got to end of month, so back down, but it soon started to build up again. So just fixing another couple of things there that I broke. You can see not the best fixes, I agree. I will do an episode at some point in the future when I've got a lot more time and a lot more money, just tidying up that kind of stuff. So here we are. Yeah, I've just realized that, oh, this is a passenger station, so we're not going to be able to pick up freight from here. So I demolish it back, change this back down to 2 platforms. So I decided what I'm going to do is back up another station next to this station, which will be a freight station. But I couldn't get it as close as I would have liked because of the paths coming out, the roads coming out of the existing one. So it's not that close, but it is close enough to transfer goods between the two. That I don't even know if it will work with a passenger station, so we'll have to keep an eye on that and see what happens when you put a passenger station next to a freight station. I'm guessing it probably won't transfer the goods from the passenger station to the freight, but theoretically it will work the other way around, just because the passenger stations are drop-off stations. But I guess we'll see when I start playing again in real time. So just hooking up the station there, as you can see. So that's the end of the time lapse. So I'm going to hand you back now to myself. Right, well, that was kind of epic. Blew through a lot of cash, mainly because of these bridges. They are very expensive, trying to keep them up above the waterway so that the ships can still get through is costing a lot of money. So let's have a look what we've done. So we've put this main archery in on this side of the map. So we're going from M13 down to Doomstad via the docks. So we're going to drop off oil here, pick up the oil, drop some off here, fuel. Drop some fuel off here, drop some fuel off at New York City when I plumb that in, and Smallville, Metropolis, and then out to what is currently M16. Now this is kind of interesting because this is also on the route that I was using to deliver fuel to these 2 cities out here. So I should be able to just use that to double up to be my second fuel endpoint. So I can pick up more fuel here and take it back up the route going over to here. So how are we getting the fuel to these docks, right? So we have a crude up here. I've put in a line. I haven't actually put the line in. Let's do that now. I'll stick with our nice fuel red color. So we're going from here, and it goes here over the river again, and here. So what I was making consideration of when laying this was that I could use this line, which is the overall plan, to access other industries. So we've got that industry there, and then when we get down to here, we can access these 2. So this is the fuel, and I believe this was planks. Yeah, bread. Okay, so that's a farm, and then both of those could bring fuel back up here, bread back up here, and send it back up here. And then into the line coming down this way if we want, or via, as we will probably do, the docks. This one I wanted it close enough to the town so that we can use this station here for dropping off fuel to this town as well, so there's a demand coming back up the line for profitability reasons. So that's that one in. So a few problems I've got to fix there, but you can see how that's going to work. And I've got a lot of tidying up to do before we even think about putting some trains on, and I need to make some more money to finish off all the smaller routes, and I'll do a bit of landscaping probably as well off camera. So I'm going to leave it there for today. That was took quite a long time to get those 2 lines in. So thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. Please do consider giving me a like, a subscribe, or even just leave me a comment on what you think, and I will respond to those comments that I can see, and I hope to see you again soon. I've been Sparky Centerfold. I hope you've been great. That's all from me. Goodbye.